2017 has come and gone, but it's been a pretty interesting year overall. We've slowly tried to climb out of the hole that was 2016. We've been kicked down by sites like YouTube and most recently Patreon for updating their services to completely bury their consumer base. North Korea and Donald Trump have been getting on like a house on fire, and I still haven't got my Christmas decorations up. Okay, it's not been the best year in general, but as far as gaming goes, it's been one of the strongest years in recent memory for the industry. Not only did Nintendo lead the biggest comeback with the public with the release of the Switch, Zelda, and Mario, but other franchises like Resident Evil, Sonic, and Crash Bandicoot all got brought back to their roots this year, still hoping for that Spyro the Dragon trilogy re-release. Everyone in the gaming space seems to be getting along, except EA. Fuck EA. And I've had a blast with all the new games that came out this year. There have been so many new experiences, adventures, and tales that I've been able to sink myself into in 2017. And here, I'm going to reveal my top 5 games of the year. These are the 5 games that I feel represent the pinnacle of my gaming experience this year. This is a personal opinion, and I have no doubt that some of you out there will have very different tastes regarding the best games of the year, and that's totally okay. If a game you like doesn't appear in the video, why not talk about it in the comments below and explain why you enjoyed the game, see if you can convince me. With that said, there's just one rule I need to implement here. The game must have come out between January the 1st and the creation of this video, and no expansions or DLCs will be considered, so very sorry to Dark Souls 3's Ringed City and Final Fantasy XIV Online's Stormblood, but you will not be counted. With that, I'd like to mention a few games that missed out on my top 5, but I wanted to highlight briefly. Sonic Mania, What Remains of Edith Finch, Cuphead, Nioh, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. All 6 of these games are quality titles and have an audience out there. Sonic Mania is a brilliant return to form for the Sonic franchise. Edith Finch was a beautiful narrative that excelled at being an interactive walking simulator. Cuphead was a charming smash hit that deserves all the praise it gets. Nioh was an amazing ode to Soulsborne games that had enough features and a unique setting that set it apart from its competition. Horizon Zero Dawn as an open-world game was a unique blend of technology and primitive values, complete with some awesome enemy designs and a brilliant main character. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as it came out on my birthday, and seems to have improved upon what made the original game such a smash hit. For one reason or another, these games haven't made the list, but I just wanted to highlight them as pretty amazing games in their own right. With that, it's time to begin my top 5 games of 2017. For me, 2017's overall theme of gaming was about reviving and innovating pre-existing franchises. And this is a theme that you'll be seeing throughout the list. 2017 was a solid year for horror games. We got 3 horror sequels for 3 horror franchises, The Evil Within 2, which was a surprise hit amongst consumers, Outlast 2, which was alright, but failed to really hit that niche that the first game took over. So when it came to picking a horror game for this list, the choice was a no-brainer. My number 5 game of the year goes to Resident Evil 7. The first game released this year that I got to play, Resident Evil 7 took the genre back to its roots. Away went all the macho men, action sequences, and cheesy dialogue that Resident Evil 5 and 6 were oversaturated with, and instead, we got the absolutely terrifying Baker family. For the first time, the franchise went first person, and for those looking for real immersion, there was even a VR option. Whatever your preference, Resident Evil 7 built up the scares and made you afraid again. You played as a simple guy without any combat training who was just looking for his wife. No crazy setups, no over-the-top story, just a man looking for his wife. The game knew what it was and kept itself grounded in its setting and characters, which heightened the overall experience for me. Its sound design was also on point, and the save room music is back and better than ever. The main theme though, Go Tell Aunt Rhody, is still stuck in my head to this day and is one of my favourite main themes in recent memory. But the Bakers are by far the best part about this game. From Lucas's Saw-esque traps, to Marguerite's bug swarms and Jack Baker's sinister humour and sick car drifts, they made the game so much better just by being there. Why is Resident Evil 7 only at number 5 though? In my opinion, the final few chapters of the game bring it down in quality. The entire ship level, where you're playing as Mia running away from the Molded, as well as that videotape flashback you get in the main room of the ship, felt convoluted and just a little bit too long. The change in setting made me lose that sense of dread that the Louisianan mansion was giving off. But overall, this is such a comeback for Resident Evil 7 and the franchise in general, and I can only hope the DLC that's coming out soon can wrap up some of those loose plot threads for the game, and hopefully we'll be seeing a Resident Evil 8 sometime in the future. Whenever I do these top 5s, I usually have an extra rule added to the mix. I have to have played the game in order to list it. That's why games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Cuphead, Xenoblade 2, and Neo all got honorable mentions. I haven't played them yet. But there was one game this year that I haven't yet played that I can't ignore. If it was any other game, I'd have not included it on this list. But being real here, I can't ignore gaming's biggest icon, can I? At number 4, we've got Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. Because even though I haven't had any hands-on experience with the game, I can tell it's just damn good quality platforming Mario experience. The return of 3D Mario is such a big deal for the franchise, as the last true 3D game in my opinion was Super Mario Galaxy 2. I'm not counting 3D World, as it was a 3D game that played like a 2D game. And it excelled in bringing us to fabulous new worlds and refining the gameplay to its absolute peak. Mario's controls are varied, his traditional moveset returns along with a new roll ability, as well as the main gimmick of Cappy and his capture powers. Capturing enemies is a fluid experience, and nobody I've talked to has complained about the lack of traditional power-ups. The levels are varied and grand, and they're sprawling with things to do, moons to discover, people to talk to, and costumes to buy. The customization of Odyssey is through the roof. Finally, we can dress Mario up in whatever we want. Costumes and references are around every corner, and if you've ever grown up with Mario, you owe it to yourself to play this game. Perhaps the biggest thing of all though, this game has one of the only desert levels in gaming history that I actually like. I hate desert levels, but the Sand Kingdom has appealed to me so much from what I've seen, and I cannot wait to explore it myself. The game could have been higher on the list, however, the extra 2 endgame kingdoms that you unlock, while fun, are a little underwhelming for the work you put in to get them, and I didn't like how there wasn't much consistency in the scale of some kingdoms. The Sand Kingdom is a massive place with so much to see and do, but the Ruined and Cloud Kingdoms are glorified boss arenas, despite the former having some of the best aesthetics in the game. But overall, if you want an amazing platforming adventure, I'd recommend Mario Odyssey, as well as a pair of headphones so you can jam to that main theme, Jump Up Superstar, as much as you want. So, we're at the top 3. My 3 favourite games from 2017. And I won't lie to you guys watching at home, it was difficult deciding where each game should go. Because the 3 games at the top of my personal list are so different and they all come from various genres, you can't really compare them. Ultimately, I listed these games based on my own personal experience, and any one of these 3 games could be my number 1 on this list. With that being said, I'm genuinely surprised to be saying this, but my number 3 spot goes to a game that made me cry when I saw just how well it was received with reviewers and consumers. Because this game told everyone out there in the gaming community that Nintendo knew what they were doing and that they could launch a damn console. And number 3, it's The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda franchise could be considered my favorite gaming franchise of all time, with some of my all-time favorite games coming from the series. Majora's Mask is one of my top 3 games of all time, Twilight Princess is great, and even Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, which I played to death as a kid, were gaming highlights as I grew up. And seeing Breath of the Wild appeal to an entirely new audience, and watching them fall in love with a franchise that I hold dear, it's a beautiful thing. Open world gaming has been a trend that many games have taken over the past few years. Skyrim, Dragon Age, Horizon Zero Dawn, Fallout, and now Zelda have taken a leap into the genre. And Zelda's first step, while not perfect, is as close as you can get with your first go. The world is beautiful and there is so much to explore, different areas with their own climates, countless enemies to defeat, villages to discover, and dungeons to conquer. It's the same Zelda we all know and love, but at the same time, it's something more. The difficulty is ramped up from previous installments, with Link being more fragile at the start of the game. Enemy encounters are often more trouble than you might think, and the feeling of Link growing throughout the game can be felt in both the story and the gameplay as you manage to take down enemies at a quicker pace. You'd think searching for shrines and freeing the divine beasts would get tiresome, but you're always discovering new places to explore, finding yourself at another shrine in weird places. With the Switch's portability as well, hopping in and beating a shrine during a morning bus ride to work or school is easy and rewarding. I will admit though, I do miss the feeling of the old Zelda dungeons. Call me old school, but I often love the elemental-based ruins and forests that you'd explore in older games, gaining new items as you go. Breath of the Wild was a great way to reinvent the wheel and bring about a new style of gameplay, but I'm hoping this doesn't mean the Zelda team will forget their roots as well. The only downside to me for Breath of the Wild, something that I really felt disappointed by, was the lack of enemy variety. You get reskinned versions of some enemies, but for a world as grand as Zelda, the fact that there were only a handful of different enemy designs was a letdown. It would have been good to see more variety in different climates, rather than just reskinning an existing enemy to fit the location's theme. Now, I do plan to revisit Breath of the Wild in 2018, as I played the game on the Wii U. Perhaps the Switch version, which I will be purchasing at some point, will make me appreciate the game more. But as things stand, it was the perfect swan song for the Wii U, and the perfect launch title for the Switch, and is a brilliant entry into an amazing franchise. With the 2 heavy hitters out of the way, and all the other big games seemingly in my honorable mentions list, some people might be wondering just what my top 2 games are. What could Billy consider as better than Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Horizon Zero Dawn, Cuphead, and more? And I reply the very simple answer. An indie game and a visual novel. But is my number 2 the indie game, or the visual novel? Damn, this sounds like a setup for a Scrum debate. Oh, and I've given it away. Yep, my number 2 game of the year goes to Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. The Danganronpa franchise creeped into my life last year when the first 2 games got a new lease of life being released on Steam. I watched the first game via some YouTubers, played the second one myself, and fell in love with the series. Solving murders and getting to know the different characters within these visual novels was great fun, but I'll admit that something didn't sit right with me. Both Danganronpa 1 and 2 had flaws, as well as characters that I just couldn't get behind. And there was a slight emptiness that I felt when I finished the games and realized there's nothing left. Even after watching the anime, there was nothing left. And then V3 happened, and suddenly the skies opened. For the first time, I finished a Danganronpa game and went, there's nobody in this cast that I despise. All of the cases were actually fun. The gameplay didn't want to make me switch off the game during this game's version of Hangman's Gambit. It was amazing. Finally, there was a Danganronpa game that I could get attached to, like other fans had experienced with the first 2 games. To this day, the V3 promo art is my desktop screensaver, and I have a replica beanie of Ryoma Hoshi's black tennis beanie that I now wear all day, every day, to hide my horrific mess of Gonta-like hair. out of every Danganronpa title, Killing Harmony was just right for me. The pacing starts off slow and lets you really get to know these characters, and the class trial segments are better than ever. The new Scrum Debate is an intuitive addition to the trials, even if it is criminally underused in my opinion. And overall, everything just improves upon its predecessors in every single way. Except for Monokuma's Mickey Mouse voice. Holy crap, tone down the pitch, please. People had a lot of problems with the pacing and with everything just being longer, but what do you expect from a PlayStation 4/PC port visual novel? It comes with the genre, and the fact that you spend so much time with these characters means that when they do start dropping like flies, you actually care. Without spoilers, Chapter 2's trial is probably one of my favorites in the series, and it made me feel way too many emotions that I care to admit. Falling into the world of Danganronpa has never been so easy, and I didn't want it to end. Although I do wish the anime's fan service ending could be transferred to V3. They all deserved better. And so, we're here. This is it. The pinnacle of gaming for 2017. I've played many games this year from all genres. I've loved, I've hated, and I've completed, but my number one game was such a surprise to me. A game that I saw on Steam and new releases back in February and thought, this looks interesting. I wonder what it is. And then I played it, finished it, 100% completed it, and now I'm here to preach to you all about my game of the year. And to put the cherry on top, it's an indie game to boot. Let me tell you about my game of the year, Hollow Knight. The Metroidvania genre is something I don't usually dabble in, but this year I think I found my entry point, and that was Hollow Knight. A small game developed by an indie group, Team Cherry, the game centers around a crumbled dying land known as Hallownest. You, the titular knight, must venture into the insect kingdom of Hallownest and discover what happened to this place, while helping out the kingdom's inhabitants and fighting off the bugs that dwell below the earth. What makes this game stand out is its animation. It's all handcrafted 2D animation. The artists that helped to create this game did a magnificent job, and every smooth bit of animation looks stunning. The entire art style is so fitting, and each area feels unique and different. Whether you're in the lonely village of Dirtmouth, the bright and whimsical Fog Canyon, or the consistently raining City of Tears, it all adds together to create a beautiful world to traverse, complete with shortcuts, secrets, and a whole manner of things to discover. The gameplay starts off simple enough. You can slash in the 4 cardinal directions, and you have a self-heal that you can regulate through your soul meter, which can only be filled by fighting enemies and can also be used to unlock other powers in the game. As you progress, you unlock the ability to dash in the air, wall climb, ground pound, fire bursts of energy, as well as access to a whole host of charms and items that give you various different effects, such as an extra life, boosted power, quicker soul attacks, and more. Exploration can be tricky at first glance. You don't start off with a map, and you need to buy the map from Cornifer, a map salesman hidden in each area. However, if you don't find the salesman and defeat the area boss, the map for the area will be sold at the shop in Dirtmouth. It's a little bit tedious for the first area, but once you understand the map's mechanics, it becomes a fun game of trying to find Cornifer in each area. And after the initial release, they added an extra detail to Cornifer's locations where you can hear him humming and you can see little bits of paper on the ground. The other thing with Hollow Knight is that it's still being supported. It's a Kickstarter-funded game that is actually following through on its promises. So far, we've had 2 DLCs that add new bosses and quests to the game, with the promise of an entirely new campaign and a new playable character coming later down the line to add to the 50-hour playtime that I already have with it. Hollow Knight is a game that I didn't expect to like when I first played it. After reaching an area in the game called Crystal Peak, which is about 1/3 of the way through the game, I almost rage quit when I thought I'd gotten myself stuck. In reality, I'd missed an obvious path, and after coming back to the game with a fresh mind, I found myself loving it. I'm so glad I gave the game a second chance, and ever since, I've been one of this game's biggest supporters when it comes up in conversations. Anybody that knows me can attest to that. I have tried to hype up Hollow Knight so much, and it just feels like it's not really gotten the recognition it deserves. I urge you to please play this game. Hollow Knight, as far as indie debuts go, is a brilliant game that I fear was overshadowed by bigger releases this year, especially Cuphead if the Video Game Awards are anything to go by. Please go back and give Team Cherry's game a shot, because I promise you will not regret it. This year, Team Cherry's Hollow Knight is the only game I 100% completed, and I'd complete it all over again in a heartbeat. This has been my top 5 games of 2017, and my game of the year is Team Cherry's Hollow Knight.